Hi loves, it's Shannon Easterly, marriage and family therapist. And I've been thinking about this video for probably a couple of weeks now. I want to talk a little bit about little grief and the importance of little grief. I have been grieving lately my hair. And I'm sure that, well, I'm not sure, but I'm guessing that there might be those of you in this moment thinking, what? So I'll start with what's happening with my hair. I'll tell the story of my hair, and then I'll tell why I'm talking about my hair. Because that seems kind of important, because otherwise, yeah, the whole thing doesn't really make a lot of sense. So about a year ago now, almost a year ago, I changed my diet. It just needed to be cleaned up. And that was a really hard change on my body, even though it was a good change. And then during that time, I was also going through a global pandemic while helping my clients process going through a global pandemic. I lost both of my parents. I got very sick with COVID. And about 3 months after I had COVID, I was in the shower one day and I was shampooing my hair, and I just had handfuls of hair. And it had started to thin a little bit, and I had begun to hear stories about people who were losing hair post-COVID a couple of months down the line. Our hair usually tells the story a few months later. And it hadn't really registered that much. And all of a sudden I was just staring at these chunks of hair. And I panicked. I mean, I literally thought I was going to step out of the shower bald. And I was having all these conversations with myself about how if that happened, I would figure it out. Well, I didn't step out of the shower bald, but if you look down there somewhere, you will see that there are videos where I have literally had much better hair days. So it just started kind of like breaking off and falling out, and not cool at all. So that's what's happening with my hair. So let me tell you the story of my hair. When my daughter was about 4.5, so 6 or 7 years ago, I can't do math at the end of an 8-session day and on camera when I'm already like super nervous. Do I look super nervous? Because I am. I always am. Yeah, I still can't do math. Anyway, she kept saying that she wanted me to grow my hair out. And I've always worn my hair short. I have a tiny little face, and I would explain to her that my hair doesn't grow the way I would like for it to grow, but it's going to be longer, and mommy looks better with short hair. And she insisted, and she insisted, and she insisted. And so I finally acquiesced. And for anyone who has grown their hair out from a shortcut, holy Moses, that is a painful process with lots of brutal, unattractive steps along the way. And I kid you not, the first day, it was just long enough to pull into like a tiny, tiny little nub of a ponytail in the back. I walked out of the bathroom and she looked at me and she said, "Mommy, why don't you cut your hair? It's so much cuter short." Oh, I thought the head under my hair was going to explode. And I decided in that moment that I was going to grow it down to my booty. As it turns out, my hair will never grow that long, but it was worth a shot. I also realized how much I enjoy being able to do different things with it and wear it up, and I have really enjoyed having it longer. So the idea of losing it when I have tried so hard to grow it, and at T-minus 7 weeks from turning 52, not knowing if it will grow back, if I cut it. I've been kind of nursing it along and hoping that it will fill in as it goes. So why is grieving my hair so important? Because I know I have friends right now who are going through chemo and have no hair at all. I know lots of women my age who would kill to have hair. I know lots of people who don't care about their hair. So why does it even matter? Well, that's why we're going to talk about grief. First of all, grief is not a competition. We all grieve different things, and what makes sense to one person may not make sense to a different person. And oftentimes what we're grieving is representative of something else. Either we are subcontracting grief. There's something intangible that we may be grieving that gets wrapped into something tangible. So maybe subconsciously, I don't know that I'm grieving. I'm going to pull something out of my ear. My kiddo becoming more independent. I'm not actually grieving that. That makes me really happy each step along the way, but we'll pretend. And I'm not aware of that, but I am aware that something's going on with my hair. So maybe that grief gets subcontracted into I'm grieving my hair. Maybe it's representative of something else. I watched my beautiful mama lose her hair and her fingernails and her toenails more than once. And so there was something very triggering and poignant about that, and about the loss of vitality that represented for her, and something beautiful about the way she so gracefully managed through all of that. So sometimes we're grieving one thing, but we might be grieving a whole lot of things underneath that. And it is so important. And sometimes we're titrating grief. So maybe I can't I can't manage the entire grief of the loss of my mom quite yet. But maybe I can grieve the loss of my hair and grieve a little bit of the loss of my mom along with it. Evidently, I'm going to cry on camera again because I think that's really cool. Or because I'm human. We'll go with that one, okay? We're going to go with I'm human. So what's the importance of grieving the small things? When we grieve the small things, we actually allow ourselves to move farther into acceptance of those things. So if we grieve the little things along the way, they don't build up. Small elements of grief that build up turn into depression. They turn into things that we just ruminate on rather than grieving and moving through. And we have things to grieve every day. There are times that I stand in front of the mirror because I like to entertain myself, and I go 50, 30, 70, 30, or 50, 30. I'm so delicate. We grieve aging, and we grieve the things our children are going through, our parents are going through, our friends are going through. We grieve things at work. We grieve things in our communities and in our world. And if we allow ourselves to grieve them, grief isn't meant to be permanent. We move through it, and then we recalibrate on the other side of it. But if we don't allow ourselves to feel it, then we get stuck in it. And we just kind of move around and around and around in it, or it comes out sideways in a different emotion at a different time in an inappropriate way. And we don't want that to happen either. Another thing that happens when we allow ourselves to grieve is that when we have empathy for ourselves, it also gives us empathy for others, and it models empathy for others. So if I stay with the hair theme, you know, my kiddo had really long hair for a long time, and she decided this year that she wanted to get it cut into a pixie cut, and her dad and I decided to, you know, let her go down that path, and she got a really cute cut. She wasn't all that cracked up about how it ended up looking on her sweet little head. And so she has grieved that. So as a parent, I could look at her and say, really, you're upset about your haircut? I mean, look at all the things going on in the world. Look at, you know, all of the other things that there are to be upset about, and you're going to be upset about this. It's just hair. It'll grow back. And sometimes we think that by saying something like that, we are teaching our children what to truly value and helping them know when to truly have empathy, you know, have empathy for this person and this person, but you know, this is not something that we need to have empathy for. Actually, what we're doing in that moment is we're modeling for them how to not have empathy. We are showing them in that moment, I don't have empathy for you, so let me model for you what it looks like to not have empathy. Met needs diminish. So when I can meet her where she is, doggone it, honey, we have all been there. And I know that it's hard to know that you've made this decision and it's going to take a long time for it to resolve itself. And, you know, here are the ways that we can make this better, and here are the ways that you're just going to hang with it for a while. And, you know, what does it teach you about how, you know, to think about others and to help them feel good about themselves. And we have to meet others where they are first, and we have to meet ourselves where we are first, because we can diminish our own needs as well. If you're feeling down here, like right brain really feeling down here, and you come in up here with left brain, you know, I shouldn't feel this way, that doesn't create healing. That creates a disconnect on the inside. So when we have empathy for ourselves, then we can integrate and heal and move through that grief and move on to solutions. So when we show ourselves empathy, we make it okay for others to show themselves empathy. We help ourselves remember to show ourselves and others empathy, and we model it in a way that our littles learn how to have empathy as well. So here's the important thing. When you're feeling sad about something, don't take your grief away. Honor it. It doesn't mean you have to shout it from the rooftops and make yourself super vulnerable like I do and open yourself up to all kinds of ridicule. You don't have to do that. Aren't you glad? But do take note and give yourself some time to feel whatever you're grieving about. You know, if you sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, or I don't know, smoke signals, or I don't know why I had to say a pencil or a pen, and started writing down all the things that you might be a little bit sad about, you would be so surprised how many things there are. And, you know, we might think, well, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to focus on those things? Again, if we don't recognize those things, they just stay in there and churn. When we name them, we get to move through them. So it's not a, you know, I name these so I can ruminate on them. It's I name these so that I can acknowledge them and move beyond them. Honor your grief. Don't let anybody take it away from you. And do your best not to take someone else's grief away. Oftentimes when we hear a complaint is grief in disguise. And when I say that met needs diminish, if there's someone in your life who complains a lot it is often because they have had grief that has gone unacknowledged. And our tendency toward people who complain a lot is to like completely blow them off, which just perpetuates that cycle. So at the very least, if you can, if you have the bandwidth, do your best to meet them where they are and see if there's an opportunity to help them move somewhere else. If you try that and it doesn't matter what you do, because usually what happens if somebody's feeling down here and we come in up here with, hey there, hi there, oh there, it's not that bad. They'll dig in deeper to help us understand, yeah, it really is that bad. This is how bad I'm feeling. They don't say, oh, you're right. It's really not that bad. They'll dig in deeper. So if we meet them where they are and then help them move to a different place, that tends to be a lot more successful. So at least give it a try. And by all means, make sure that you're meeting yourself where you are, because that's how we move through it, transcend it, and move to the other side of it. I hope this has been helpful. And I hope that your yoke is easy and your burdens are light.